I think I've gotten him to take a cookie for me like one time, but he is super shy.
And as soon as she shifts weight, only that foot comes flying up. So Bradford has had 4 different medications, and he's not going down.
See how all that kind of looks like hair? That's canker. And the only way to treat it, it has to be completely debrided. A vet has to do it. It's a surgery.
This is Cornelius, and I'm about to lunge him in a round pen to get some energy out of him before we ride. So also on his nose is a bump that you can see, and it can be a little sensitive, so sometimes you don't want you touching it. But we believe it happened in the trailer because when he came to the auction, they said he didn't have it, but when he was getting out of the trailer and they got him off, he got it. So we're assuming he probably reared up in there or just kind of slammed his head around and hit his nose. But it's all checked out good. It's nothing that's gonna hurt him in the long run. So what we're doing right now is we're gonna see how he acts with the flag being around him. We're gonna desensitize him to flags being around, anything that can flop in the wind, if they're on a trail ride or just riding out in general, in case a kid rides them so he don't go crazy. He's doing pretty good now that he's getting used to it being on him. This is very much good progress. First something was to be touching him on trails. The training went well. We are going to be doing more flag work tomorrow to get them better about stuff being around them and flapping around. Because if someone was to adopt him and want him to be a trail horse, he could make it. He just needs some more work with that. But he has been a great horse. He just needs some work with the obstacle course we have and the flag being around him. And after that, he'll have a really good horse.
Who are you trying to get?
Francis, the chestnut mule. Good girl. Wrong way. Turn around. Come back this way. Come on. Now go that way. Mostly trying to gain her trust, as in she has none. She's very unhandled. So I'd also like to try and get a halter on her if she allows it for the first time. But as of right now, she's doing good for letting me touch her because this is very new to her. She seems to not be bothered by this at all. Never mind, just a little. Just a little. Now I'm just seeing how she leads, and when she stops, I apply pressure like this and hold it until she steps forward and now release and let her walk more until we stop again. She's doing better than I thought she would. I'm going to put this behind her and let her step in it, and I'm going to apply pressure at her fetlock to see if she will pick up her front hoof for me. Front feet, she's good. She's agreeing. But all we have to do is work on gaining trust and getting her used to leading and the flag. So she'll take time, but she'll turn out to be a good mule.
Hey John, tour just got here, so we need to go film. Well, we're excited that you follow us, and you probably recognize some of the faces. Angela, and then we also have Sarah, our operations coordinator here. We've got John behind the camera, and this is our area where we do all of our adoptions. So you'll see our Found Love this month up there on the wall, and we are up to 141 adoptions this year already, so that's really exciting.
We'll have this as like a special pasture for horses that need special meds or something. It depends. It just kind of keeps them a little close. With all the rain though, everything gets a little muddy, so. And this is where we keep our cats that she needs to be spayed. She came as a little kitty and she went home with Tanner, and now she's back.
Right, so how long, so if they're having behavioral issues, do you know about how long that takes?
It depends. Every horse is a little different. Some of them take a little longer, and some of them not so long. It's hard to tell, you know, what things happen to them and what's going to trigger them, because they may be perfectly fine and then they get adopted or something, or transferred, or the adopter will do something that will trigger them that we had no idea would trigger them, and then they get brought back, and then we have to figure out what we can do, or if there is anything we can do, and that's always the hard part.
Right. She seems fine.
She seems fine, but she can be really loving and then bite you.
Okay.
So that's a definite challenge. Yeah. So 1 minute you're loving on her, your pet, she's perfectly fine, and the next
she's bit you.
She's bit you. Yeah.
But that's expected with the numbers.
But yeah, we do our best, but it's not always easy to make the perfect match.
They're unpredictable.
Can be a challenge.
Yeah.
If we notice horses aren't showing any signs of being sick, and it's a little bit before the 30 days, but we're about to go to another auction, we will bring those out of quarantine to make room for the new horses to go into quarantine. But if they have any kind of,
Right now we have 30 horses.
We have 30 horses in quarantine right now.
Up at that barn.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time at my desk, so I don't get to know them as well.
That's okay.
Somebody's got to do all the fun stuff, right?
Right. Yes, of course.
Sometimes we'll put some of the harder to handle horses, or horses that don't like to come, so that they get used to us being around them, and hopefully we can win them over. But
I can see that.
yeah, it does take some
Oh yeah, it's like, give me a
trying to
treat,
earn
but
her
don't touch
trust.
me.
Yeah. She's like, no, give me the treats. I don't want you touching me though.
Yeah, those are my projects right there. They're figuring it out slowly. They're just really unsure about people.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they're here, right?
Yep. The white one actually let me go up to her and touch her the other day without having to put her in the chute, which is nice. She's been charging people in pastures too, so it's kind of nice to see that progress.
Yeah.
Bye.
We just had a really sweet family come in for a tour. They actually drove several hours to come here. Their daughter watches our videos, and so we were really excited to have them here and show them around. Our tours are actually really short. We actually don't do very many of them. They're only about 10 to 15 minutes. They're just around the office and our intake barn. You don't really get to see just a ton of the horses here. So we are in the process of working on developing a little longer tour session so people can come out and enjoy it a little bit more. But yeah, they're really short, but if you still want to come, we'd love to have you.
They're pretty shy. The bigger one, yeah, especially the little one, he likes to hide, but the bigger one will take cookies out of your hand. Like he'll stretch out here. You can take a couple of these if you want to try. He'll stretch out to get the cookies from you. The little one is a little bit more reluctant. You can see if he'll try though. I think I've gotten him to take a cookie for me like one time, but he is super shy. They're buddies.
Will they accept a third, do you think?
Oh,
A trio?
yeah, I'm sure they will.
They're pretty mellow, but
I think these guys just kind of grew up together a little bit.
well, that's why I didn't want to split them. I feel bad about that with them.
All right, maybe I can get them both in the same one. Okay, smile. They're taking Pip and PETA.
Exciting.
Thanks all very much. First found out about Horse Plus because when we moved to Hohenwald, we were just driving around and we saw the sign out front. And I wanted to know what the resources were in the area because we had horses. And we looked them up online and have been following them ever since. And been keeping my eyes out for them coming up with miniature donkeys because I had one that needed a playmate or a buddy. And it took 2 years of waiting, but finally some were apparently surrendered. And so I called in and put a hold on them and was able to adopt them today. They'll be coming out this afternoon. And we're keeping our fingers crossed that they get along with the one at home so that we'll have a trio of mini donkeys in that donkey pasture. This is my third time here adopting an animal, and it's always very businesslike and everyone's friendly. The animals are well cared for, obviously, and I always leave here with a smile on my face and an animal in the trailer.
The adopter just left, and the 2 donkeys she adopted, Pip and PETA, will be picked up later today by Garrick, who's going to transport them to their new home.
So today we are setting our catch pen back up in our mule pasture. It's not really the mule pasture, but it's just kind of where the mules have always been since I came here, so we call it that. And this will be nice because then we can start moving horses around again and bring the ones down the alleyway that need to be worked on. And you're out here doing ranch work. It doesn't matter if it's raining, it doesn't matter if it's snowing. There's always something to do. Got our catch pen set back up today. The tractor guys came and redid all of that. It was pretty muddy and messy, so we got that put back together and it's looking really good. Now we could actually move horses around where we need them. So right now I'm getting Keaton lined up on what I want him to do. He's gonna put some T-posts out here to kind of help secure these panels a little better. He's gonna do that pen as well, and then I'm gonna have him set up a couple panels over here to kind of separate these pins a little bit. That way we can utilize this area. So I want every other every panel right up against this, okay?
You always want to put the notches to the outside so that way you can dig it out of the ground in case you don't have it in the right spot. This is a T-post driver. You always want to get it as close as you can to the panel as possible. These fencing pliers here are pretty much good for everything. Hammering, just all the fencing tools in one. Twisting it, cutting it. Pretty sweet tool.
We're heading up to quarantine right now. Kory and we're gonna go check out Daffodil's leg, get her rewrapped, and then go check out Clover's hooves. This is my baby. I officially put the $150 hold on him. So as soon as he is out of quarantine, he is coming home. And he's perfect.
You've been burned too many times.
I've worked with her enough to know all her little movements now. And as soon as she shifts weight, normally that foot comes flying up.
From the light, but don't be afraid, my darling. The darkest of days are just before the dawn.
The white line disease it can be the fungus. It will get in any cracks or anything, and then it moves up the hoof wall and it actually makes the hoof wall like separate from the actual like inside part of the hoof. And the cracks on the outside just keep going up and up. So we're putting stuff on it, and then tomorrow we're actually making a like paste concoction that we'll be able to actually pack all the way up in there, and it'll stay in there to help treat it. So this is Clover. This is the hoof, or the horse that Kayla trimmed up for us. And she had her front feet were overgrown a lot and has the pretty severe split down the front. You're okay. But Kayla trimmed it up quite a bit, and how it is now, most of her weight is on the main part of the hoof, and so there's not as much pressure that's going to continue splitting the hoof. So as the hoof grows out, that crack will grow out with it, and eventually she'll have nice, healthy feet. So we just got done medicating up in quarantine. It was super helpful having Kory here today. Daffodil, the horse with the front leg injury, she has started just kind of not liking us messing with it. Has been pawing a lot, so it was nice having Kory up here helping us work with her on that, just to kind of make medicating her safer. And then Clover as well, we did her feet again, and she's pretty good with her front feet, does not like her back feet, so Kory did some work with her on well just to kind of make it safer and easier for everybody. But we got it all done, and everybody's looking really good.
So we are setting up the obstacle course. We're gonna run Rose through it. She needs some desensitizing, so this is gonna make a big difference for her. Did it eat you? You think it's gonna kill you? That was so much better. So for this, you just want to keep their attention on it. Maybe start with the short side first. Do that a couple times. This is just helping them get over any uneven surfaces or things that might move. Or if you're gonna be trail riding and there might be bridges that you're gonna be going across, this kind of helps with that. I do wanna try putting them all together real quick. Call this one the car wash. Just do a bunch of weird stuff, get them over it. Usually better for you. All right, this just looks crazy. What do we think? We're gonna be a champ about this? You've got this. You did it. So the best thing to do if you're going after obstacles like this is to get them really good at sending around first. That way you can just walk up to the obstacle and just send them through it. She still wants to be kind of right on top of me. We got some stuff done today. She needs work, but we'll get there.
So we are up in quarantine today for an extremely busy day. We have Dr. Duncan and her team out today doing all of our castrations. We are going to have Kayla back out today as well as her husband Lyle, and they're going to be doing draft feet and donkey feet while they're getting their castrations. We have a ton of coggins to get to, and if we have time, we got some teeth to float too. So it is going to be go, go, go all day, but all these horses are going to get some amazing medical care, and then we'll be ready for when they come out of quarantine to be adopted.
Oh my God! Whose ill-behaved child is that?
Two farriers working on the hooves at the same time. And then we got Dr. Duncan up front floating his teeth because his top teeth were really sharp, and Kory noticed that he was dropping his food really bad. And we want to use the most of the sedation and not keep him under longer than possible, so we just got the full team working on him at once. Kayla, Lyle, what is thrush?
It's an anaerobic bacteria that eats away at the horn of the hoof, and it'll get down into the sensitive structures. It thrives in a dark, moist environment. If you're not, if you're not picking your horse's feet out, keeping them clean, keeping them trimmed, any little crack and crevice underneath is going to start growing.
We got all, I don't know what they're gonna need, but we got all the things to fix these feet, hopefully.
See how all that kind of looks like hair? That's canker. And see how you can flex that heel? Like, it's just taken away this whole foot. And this one's not so bad. And I mean, it's a one-time treatment. They'll go and cut it all out. You put the hospital plate on, let it grow to a nice surface again, you know, so it's not exposed, and then it's done. But it has to be done. Here you can kind of see a difference. Here's a normal frog. Okay. And here is our frog with canker. You see how it's kind of like growing these little hair-like tissue, and the whole heel flexes, this whole thing moves. It's really easy to hit blood. It's taken over the whole back half of this foot, and the only way to treat it, it has to be completely debrided. A vet has to do it. It's a surgery. Otherwise, it'll just keep growing. So not a lot of research has been done on canker. It seems to be more prevalent in the draft breed. I've only actually seen it twice in the 7 years I've been shoeing. It's kind of rare. And the only way to get rid of it, it has to be completely debrided by a vet. It is a surgery. The horse has to be put under for this. And then a special shoe with a plate covering the wound has to be applied until the hoof grows back. And then he can go about living his life as normal.
So it looks like we need more help, so we called the whole crew up here. We're gonna do a little assembly line and get all these castrations knocked out. Dr. Duncan and Chloe have a farm call they need to take in about a couple hours, so we're gonna try to get this done. They're gonna go to their farm call and they're gonna come back and we're gonna finish up the list.
Miniatures, donkeys, no matter the size, they are more resistant to the drugs.
Frank has no time for your drugs.
No.
He's just standing there hanging out, literally.
Oh, he's hanging out, so he's feeling it.
This is lice powder. A lot of the horses that came in had lice, so we're just double tapping them.
So Bradford has had 4 rounds of medication, 4 different medications, and he's not going down. So his castration is not gonna happen today. Just for safety, we can't give him any more, just how small he is, and if it does all hit at once, we just gotta be safe. So he will have to try another day, but I'm just hanging on to him just so he's safe, doesn't eat for a little while and recovers. And then they are currently trying to lay down 3 other donkeys. And donkeys, they take a lot more to get sedated than just a horse, even when they're small. So us having this many donkey castrations in a day is its own little challenge, but we're trying. So we got done with some really serious hooves. Kayla and Lyle did a great job with that. We got 2 castrations done. We are all very tired, but we're gonna go take a lunch break and then we'll be back at it.
So Quentin is here. He's got a list of horses to do today. I think we got about 10 for him. We're gonna see how much we can get done. And our first one is Tonka, that big lick stallion. He was just gelded a couple days ago, and now we're getting him trimmed up.
His frogs are super overgrown.
I'm sure he feels better now.
Yeah, but he may walk a little funky for a little while trying to relearn.
This is BB. BB came to us as an owner surrender, and they said that we would need to sedate her for the farrier, so we listened. She is sedate, and we'll see what we can get done on her.
This is a typical thoroughbred. Thoroughbreds have really cruddy feet. They always, what I call pancake out, they always just flare out. The hoof doesn't stay nice and round. It just chips and breaks and flares out and looks horrid. And she's basically walking on her soul already. We're just going to clip all this other stuff that's just going to make her hoof tear worse. Yeah, a lot of people keep shoes on them. It helps it. On the track, they actually shoe them every 4 weeks. And typical shoeing schedules more like 6 to 8 weeks. Their feet are just known for falling apart if you don't maintain them.
This is Calliope Rose. She won like 26,000, 36,000, something like that in the track.
This is Belle. She was an owner surrender a few weeks ago. This is our first time getting her feet trimmed with us here in Quint. So I think they look so good so far. Quint's just getting them trimmed down.
It's just a crack, and then it got debris and stuff up on both sides. So I just got rid of all those little pockets. Hopefully it'll grow out better. The inside heel on this foot is going to probably fall off. She had a big old abscess, so the whole thing's probably going to peel out. Yeah, it's just an old one, and what's going to happen is the whole thing's going to peel off. As you can see the crack way down here, this whole thing probably is hollow all the way up in here. You can see the black coming through there. You can see the black pulling up through the whole thing is probably hollow under there, and it'll peel off as it grows out. Largely superficial. There's one front crack that's a little bit deeper, but as we maintain our feet, that should be fine. I think it's just mostly from neglect.
So this is Polly the Molly. She's a mule. She is about 10 years old. She's going to need a lot of corrective trimming on that back foot. It's kind of curling underneath of itself. When we first got her, it was pretty bad. It was kind of like curling to the outside, and it looked like a spiral going off the side of it. So she is getting a lot better. She's got a pretty good temperament on her, and she is looking for a home.
It's pus and blood coming out from her walking incorrectly. It's causing damage to the dermal layer, and as a result, it's just pus and blood coming out of there. I would consider this as just a deformity, probably a birth defect, and a combination of birth defect and neglect. Or hopefully we can make her normal again, but donkeys tend to come back better than horses, but we'll see how things go. Time will tell. This is kind of like an early indication of what's happening on the rear end. But you see how it's kind of rolled over? It's a whole lot easier to fix though. Yeah, the problem I was telling with him though, it's a conformational defect because every single hoof has a collapsed, what they call medial or inside heel. They're all collapsing over top of the frog.
We are headed over to the 10 stall to go do 2 more horses and then do some vaccines and some dewormer on them too.
This is Chili. We got him originally, I think, a couple years ago, and he came back as an owner surrender last week. So we're going to give him a little pedicure here and some vaccinations, and then he'll be good to go.
So B12 is just a vitamin supplement. It can help their GI tract, especially with the stress of being surrender and new changes. It can help just with energy, but it just kind of gives them a little boost in their new situation and getting their health back on track.
This is Quest. It is a dewormer. This is Maya. We're giving her some xylazine to help her kind of relax while we're trying to trim her back feet.
I found her most of the time, not always, but most of the time is a metabolic issue. And it's very similar to, I like to liken it to like humans and diabetics. You're not going to feed a diabetic a bunch of sugar. And it's the same deal with a foundered horse. Essentially, the sugars in their system will create a swelling in their feet. And that swelling moves into what they call a pressure necrosis, which is pressure so intense that it'll kill the lamina between the hoof wall and the coffin bone, and then you get what they call a laminar wedge because it'll start separating. You can see it right here. This isn't hoof wall, this is actually lamina that's separated. The hoof wall is up here, so from here to here is what they call that laminar wedge. It's lamina that's stretched, and the coffin bone is actually rotated inside there, or you have hoof capsule rotation, one or the other. It just prevents the horse from being able to function properly. And depending on the degree of rotation, and in her case, I doubt you'd ever be able to ride her again.
So now we're heading up to quarantine. We got 2 more horses to do up there, and then we are done with the farrier for today.
So we are now in quarantine with Quint doing some farrier work. So our next one up is Miss Moon. She's an older mare that we got at the last auction. She's a really good girl. So I'm hoping she stays good for the farrier.
Pretty decent for a rescue horse. I mean, she has some minor cracks, but she doesn't have founder or anything like that. And for her age, and they're good feed for a good pasture pet. So it's a nice one to end on.
So we're back from break after doing all the donkey castrations, and now we are getting ready to do Tonka's procedure. So Tonka is a Tennessee walking horse stallion that we got at the last auction. He has been doing really well with us though. He is a pretty spirited boy. So we're excited to get this procedure done for him as his next step in his new life, and I hope everything goes well.
Head into the kitchen, have breakfast with your favorite cup of tea. And I'll spend my mornings wishing.
Open castration is where we cut the testicular sac around it, and that's when you see the full testicle. So while doing the open castration, we're able to better clamp both the testicular cord, the spermatic cord, all the vascular tissue. Closed castrations, you clamp all that together, especially in how vascular he is, how large he is. It really helps to seal that off, because with closed, we don't always get that. You'll see us, dogs get closed castrations, cats get closed usually. Some of it's surgeon preference of the way they do it, but especially for big boys like this. With the little, like the 6-month-old donkeys would have done, you can do closed castration on them just because they bleed. I did open, but with him, I'd like to clamp everything off separately and tie it off. But that's, I think, where all the fluid usually, okay. I'm Dr. Kelsie Duncan.
I'm Jenna.
And we were out here today helping them get some feet done on some donkeys that needed sedated. We did the big Belgian that had some rough feet that we discovered some cankers on him. So the good news is they're getting to take him to Tennessee Equine Hospital tomorrow to have that further evaluated and hopefully debrided. The other good news is we were able to get most of the donkeys done today with their castration so they can go find their new home sooner. Even the 6-month-old little mammoth donkeys we were able to get castrated, so that was really positive news. We had a little slow morning, but we definitely caught up this afternoon.
Yeah, it was a great day. It was a busy day. Huge shout out to Dr. Duncan and Chloe. It was a rough day. But the whole team was on board, and we got it done. And veterinary medicine is not for the faint of heart, but we got done what we needed to, and it was great.
That's right. Thank y'all so much. Tune in next time. We'll see you next week.
What you done to me.